I'm Dan Brown, and for almost 3 years I've been living on board a small narrowboat in the United Kingdom. It's a lifestyle that's allowed me to enjoy an awful lot of the outdoors and great countryside of Shropshire that I've loved for many years. Today I'd like to invite you to join me on board for a random winter's day afloat. Luckily we actually had some good weather against all of the odds. So, I suppose all that's left to say is I'm Dan Brown and welcome to my narrowboat life. On the 1st of January 2015, I posted a documentary that charted an entire week of my life afloat on Narrowboat Tilly. And the reason I did that was to really try and demonstrate just how much variation there can be in narrowboat life, which is a theme that I've talked about many times, and as I've said in many videos, that boat life can mean hugely differing things to person, boat to boat, and even, as my documentary hopefully demonstrated, the same person living on board the same boat can have wildly differing experiences from day to day, whether one day you're heading off on your bike first thing in the morning to spend all day at work and then come back out to the boat, have to fiddle around with the fire and cook your tea, and maybe you've turned up and you're soaking wet so you've got to dry your clothes and all that sort of stuff, and the next thing you know it's time for bed. Or maybe the next day you might wake up, find a beautiful day outside and just go boating for a few miles down a beautiful peaceful canal. And those are really the sorts of things that I wish to demonstrate in these videos, of just how varied things can be. However, today I wanted to put together just a general documentary about one single day of narrowboat life so that you can see a little bit more in depth of what one specific day might involve. And today we moved the boat and just had a generally nice day with a few unexpected elements thrown in, and hopefully this will give you a little bit of a look into behind the curtain of my life afloat. Start with a look at some of the more mundane and boring things, which is first of all obviously waking up in bed and then getting up. What's the first thing you've got to do? Well, I put my razor and my toothbrush and stuff like that on the side to make sure that that's one of the first jobs I do. But of course, look through the window and see how bad the weather is today. That's always got to be the first job. Apart from that, the other thing that's of major concern is the fire. If it's not too chilly out, then I will obviously use that as an opportunity to let the fire run down and then scrape out some of the ash. Whereas this morning it was pretty chilly, and as you just saw, it wasn't particularly pleasant. I've got all of my wood stored just through those front doors and under the cover, so it's a nice simple task to quickly get the fire relit and properly burning again. Obviously pop on the kettle so that you can start warming up some water. And in the other areas of simple day-to-day tasks, have a check up on the internet, see what's happening. Today was the day that I hit 2 million views on YouTube, which was an unbelievable thing. So thank you all if you're one of those people who've previously been watching these videos. And of course, this has got to be the British stereotype and more obsession with checking what the weather's going to be like. Of course, as my bedroom is also my living room, I tidy up all of my clothing. This footage is sped up to twice the speed, but it still looks pretty slow as I'm watching it back now. So tidying that up, put the cushions out, and everything's obviously set up and sorted in no time. Then one of the best moments of narrowboat life, hopefully being able to open up the curtains to some sort of lovely sunny scenery. Doesn't always work out, as you see in there. Quick snack for me breakfast, and then walking up onto the stern just to have a stretch of me legs and a bit of fresh air and just general look at what's around us today. And normally I would go out for a little walk in the morning, but as I wanted to move the boat, I wasn't sure what the weather was going to do. As we've already seen this morning, the weather out there is incredibly changeable. We've had pouring rain, we've had perfect bright sunshine, which we've currently got a little bit of now, and I'm sure that before I actually got out of bed and woke up properly, I heard a few hailstones hitting the roof too. So what I think I'm going to do is, the weather forecast has now changed to say that it's not going to be sunny and free of rain until very late on in the day. I think, well, the going's good. I'm just going to start moving, and if it does start to hammer down and pour down and I think, yeah, I'm not particularly enjoying this, then as I've said many times, the benefit of moving your entire home when you go somewhere is that all you've got to do is move over to the side, moor up, get inside, and you're already home with the fire going to dry your clothes off. So that's the plan. Let's see how far we get. Perhaps we'll get all the way down to St Martin's, perhaps not. Well, there's only one way to find out. So please ignore everything that I've just said, as in the very short time between me recording that video and then getting out there and starting to get ready to move the boat, you can see that while I was getting all of my waterproofs and all my clothing ready, it's already started to rain, and any of the blue sky and amazing sun that was just lighting up the boat has very promptly vanished. So let's give it another few minutes and see what is what. But the way that it's looking at the moment, I've got a feeling that this video could basically just be me saying, oh yeah, so I haven't quite managed to move the boat today, but I have got a lot of writing and diaries and video editing done. Sooner or later, you've just got to go for it. So, it's waterproofs on, let's go boating. This was the first proper trip that I had done on board Tilly for nearly 3 months, and the reason for that is that I was recording this sort of in the middle of the winter mooring period, where you can pay a small fee and not have to move your boat within the 2-week standard continuous cruises rule. That basically means if you don't have a proper home mooring for your boat, you can't stay in the same area for more than 14 days. So off we went, and the real reason of this trip is to basically get down to St Martin's, and in the next few days after reaching there, it's only about 2 miles, if that, around the corner, fill up with water and then turn around and come back up at a later date. One of the fantastic things about cruising on the canal over the winter months is how much quieter it is than during the busy summer times, particularly up here on the Llangollen Canal, because it's a very touristy and very sort of holiday destination type canal. So over the summer it gets incredibly busy. But over the last 2 months of 2014, the canal was closed in many places for almost all of that 2-month period. So I literally went for 1 month and I think I only saw one boat move. The basic principle, however many boats it was, is that the canal is, in all intents and purposes, completely empty, and that's something that I really do enjoy after having the sort of crazy summer times. Well, would you believe that, folks? We've arrived in perfect dry condition. Not only that, in sunlight that's so bright that I can't actually get a decent shot with the camera. So let's flip the camera around and have a look where we now are. Just around the corner down that way there's a 48-hour mooring spot, and also further beyond there is the water point that I'll be filling up from the next few days. But if we turn to have a look at the boat, the reason that I didn't have any video filming of the mooring process was because it was extremely windy. I don't know if you can hear perhaps a little bit of wind interference on the camera now, but as I say, it's a beautiful blue sky up there. The sun's out when we look in front of us, but I've got a feeling we may well have made it just in time, as even though there's blue sky about, there's also some extremely dark, grey, grim looking areas. And in just a little bit we're going to be heading across some of these fields and finding our way up towards the church that is just up in that area. And then we'll get a few supplies from the shops and return to the boat for a nice calm evening. As we step back into the boat, it is absolutely roasting, because obviously not only has the fire been on just in the little alcove there, but also when the engine runs, the radiator itself gets warm as part of the cooling system, which leads me to have this little demonstration of one of my favourite tricks to show you, and that is to slide my slippers behind the radiator, and then obviously I've now got some very toasty feet. So without further ado, I think I'm going to sit down and have just a cup of soup or something simple like that for dinner. I'm not a huge fan of eating a lot during the daytime, and would you believe that, as I am speaking now, the rain has started, so that was incredibly well timed a trip. Yet, immediately after I'd finished recording that little clip, the rain moved on, and very briskly indeed, we were back to the unbelievable little bit of weather that you're now seeing. And in just a second, I'm going to cut once again to how the weather then changed. Believe it or not, that is how grim and dark the sky has suddenly gone. Well, I've been inside filming the introduction parts to the walk up to the shops video, and as you can see, that is extremely different to the perfect blue sky we were looking at in practically all areas of the sky just a moment ago. So again, this is the sort of thing that you can't really plan for in life in general, whether that's on a boat or in a house or any other form of living. Basically, the weather is its own boss, and you are very much at the mercy of that boss. At long last, though, the weather did finally decide to play the game a little bit, and I did manage to walk up across the fields into the village of St. Martin's and to the little supermarket that there is up there. And as you can see, this is one of the little areas of Canalside that I absolutely love. The hillside is absolutely covered in little tracks through all the farmland and through hedges, and as you've just seen, there's little bridges dotted around like that everywhere. And of course, you do get the view all the way across the hills of Shropshire and into Wales, and really it's just a fantastic place to be. I've done so many videos there in the past, and even I've got a video that I recorded on this day that I'll make into a much longer walking trip, but there was one problem. So here's our situation. Brilliantly, in the middle of this Day of Narrowboat Life documentary, I just discovered while I was filling up my backpack with an awful lot of random shopping, everything from pop to onion bhajis and vegetable samosas, that I have actually locked myself out. But this is boat life, this is relaxed, there's no worry or no rush for anything. And in that theme of no rush and no worry, I walked the slightly longer way back down to the boat just to really get a little bit more footage like this of these wonderful little places. I always talk about this being a proper Lord of the Rings sort of hobbit area. And here we're zooming in, and I'm not sure if you can just about see Tilly there. So he looks extremely small, but sort of right in the centre of the screen now, you can just see the sort of white squares of the window. Anyway, let's get back to that boat. Right then, we're back at the boat, and I'm here just sheltering out of the wind. But I've got a feeling that I might well be able to just sneak something in through a window and grab the keys, because they're on the desk that's located at the very front of Tilly. Amazingly, you can see just how tantalisingly they were just visible through the window there, and with the use of a bungee cord and a hook, I managed to actually hook them through the window, which I'll do a video on the exact way that I got the keys out. But if I hadn't been able to rescue them, then it would have meant either a 4-mile round trip by foot and boot up to my friend's house for a spare key, or waiting to get the bus, which even the bus stop's about a mile away from the boat, to then go into town, go to my mum's house and get my spare keys from there. My friends, I cannot believe that that has actually worked. I really cannot believe I am literally, oh my goodness me, I am going to be I can't even speak, I am that excited. Well, you know what, I wasn't expecting that, but we are now inside the boat already. Fantastic. Oh, I am made up with that. Right then, it's a shame because I realised while I was halfway through doing my shopping that I had gone and locked myself out, so I wasn't sure what I was doing for tea. So I already got myself some samosas and onion bhajis and the yoghurt and that. And I thought, I'm not going to really top up on too much stuff in case it all has to be left out in this bright sunlight. But now, I'm on top of the world. I'm not sure what my tea's going to consist of, but yeah, we're inside. I cannot believe what has just happened. Well, to celebrate that bizarre moment, I think I'm going to have a bottle of Coke and some knickknacks. Good grief, I do love knickknacks. Oh, lovely. And I think I'll just be lazy for a little bit and then think about getting the tea on. Right, Facebook, here we come. Throughout the afternoon and evening, it was really just a nice, calm, relaxing day on the canal. Just what you want, I suppose, really. More of these, please. And to be honest, I was still just happy that I was actually inside the boat and not on a bus all over Shropshire to get some keys. But as you can see, it was a beautiful, beautiful afternoon, and we're about to head inside the boat and really see just how bright and sunny the sun can make the boat. These are, once again, the sorts of moments that I absolutely love. Just been browsing the internet for a little bit, listening to a podcast, and basically just sat on board as the sun starts to set. You can see we've got that really weird lighting currently on board from the sun. And if we have a look through the curtains here, you can see just how low to the horizon it is just up there. And that, of course, means that I've had to close the curtains and pull the blind down, because obviously the sun's shining. Well, if I open the curtains here, you can see the sun shining obviously directly at you if you're walking around on board, which isn't ideal. And yeah, like I say, really, just a case of sitting down, Gonna catch up on a few diary entries for the last couple of days, and I think then that will definitely be tea time. Lovely stuff. Unbelievably, this looks like it could well be the weather for the night. We've managed to be extremely lucky today with what we've got away with, enjoying plenty of good time outside, and especially for some nice sunny boating and all of that, walking up and around the hills to get some shopping. Well, it's not really a proper hill, I suppose. But really, I just thought I better make sure that I make a note before it goes too dark to film that it has turned into a very windy, the boat's rocking around all over the place, and very wet evening. And of course, then it got on to actually making tea, which consisted of a bizarre mixture of things such as minestrone soup, an onion bhaji, and 2 vegetable samosas. And for pudding, of course, a Greek yogurt with honey and nuts and fruit. So I certainly got plenty of different items on that list. How many of them and how frequently you should have them is all definitely up for debate. And of course, this is, like I say, the result of me not being entirely sure whether I was going to be on a bus or not at this point of the day. Luckily, I wasn't, and it certainly led me to have a nice, relaxed evening. But really, as I'm piling in the fruit and nut and goodness knows what else here, I would like to take this as a moment just to say that these are the literal most sort of boring things I could ever film, I suppose. Apart from this moment where these are so hot that I can't actually hold on to them properly. And look, get ready. Oh, that one went everywhere in my panic. So here's one of those rare clips of me not wearing a hat. And finally, obviously, washing up with water that was heated on top of the fire. Now, as I've said about the weather, this is, again, as you can see, getting a little bit later on now and after tea time, and it's just a lovely sight. I love being on the towpath while the lights are on inside Tilly and the fire's going, so there's a little sort of smell of smoke in the air, and you've got these sorts of scenes around you. I don't know if you could just see Venus in the air then. And of course, when I'm sat at my desk at the front there with all the fairy lights on, it really is just a beautiful place to spend the evenings and spend time. And of course, when it's getting this cold outside, it's definitely nice to have that fire on. Because it's so incredibly cold out there tonight, I think that even though it's only about 7 o'clock, I'm going to wrap up warm and go out for a little stroll, only about 2 miles or so, just down to the water point and maybe just down to have a look at the locks and so on, and then obviously back up. And that basically is my sort of evening stroll that stops me being sat at the desk and slowly hunching over. And as I've had a bit of problem with back pain in the past, and at one point I couldn't really use the kayak properly and all that sort of stuff, I like to sort of make sure I give myself a good bit of movement throughout the day. So just as a nice little end to the day, I shall go and have a wander down, and then I think I'll come back and start, well, editing this video and a couple of others from the day. Having these final walks in the evenings is something that I do really enjoy, just to really, over the winter months, get out there and see the canal all terrifying in the darky mist. And it's something that, as we just have a look at one of the actual taps here at one of the water points, people often ask me, ooh, don't you get scared at night if you're on your own in the middle of nowhere? And not really is my general answer, although there's something terrifying about locks, because obviously, first of all, you shouldn't be hanging around locks in the dark, because it's incredibly dangerous at the best of times. But there's something that I do love just about getting out and being able to explore, even if I'm just walking to the shops or something, just seeing it all in sort of peace and tranquility, and also slight terrifying darkness of the early evenings. Today has turned out to be quite an odd day in many respects, and a lot of that is based around the weather itself, which, because it couldn't quite make its mind up whether it was going to be a beautiful day or a terrible day, has led all of my time and all of my plans to be completely turned on their head, which obviously then you've got things like the writing and things that I wanted to get done didn't quite get done because I wasn't sure exactly what I was going to be doing and when, so I lost a lot of the sort of morning and daytime hours for travelling and then going up, and obviously then we got locked out of the boat and all that sort of stuff. But now I'm safely tucked away inside, just had the nice walk down. It's just been raining a little bit heavier and the snow seems to have completely disappeared. It's getting very, very cold out there though. But now we've got the fire going and I'm about to put my bedding out, and then that'll be that. And really just spending these last couple of hours just relaxing and unwinding. And as I say in so many of these videos, what a beautiful little environment this is. It's nice and cozy, it's absolutely piping hot, and I'll soon be taking this coat off as soon as I'm finished filming. And really I'm going to sit up at the desk at the front there, edit a few bits of video, and maybe do a little bit of writing for possible website posts for the future. And ultimately this is the sort of end of the day and the unwinding and tinkering time, and maybe play some podcasts in the background if I'm only editing video clips that don't have talking in. Ultimately, one day I might be going up to my friend's house up at Western Rin, or I might be going up into St Martin's. Perhaps I'll be biking in to see me family and have tea at a little family gathering at some point. And there's all these different things that can go on. And as you saw today with the locking the keys in the boat moment, that's the sort of thing that could easily lead to a serious disruption to the day, which not only because obviously having keys stored at friends' houses, if that had happened when I was moored up at the actual mooring place that we started out from today, it would have been a case of walking about 20 minutes to my friend's house, getting their spare keys for the boat, then coming down, and we would be done within about 50 minutes. We would have had all of the problems solved. Whereas if I had not been able to get the keys through the window like I did, then I would have had to walk probably about a mile down to the bus stop, then wait for the bus, get on the bus, go into town, and then I had two choices really: either get the bus back out and walk back down to Tilly, or maybe ride out my other bike that I keep stored at my mum's house, so that if I do find myself bussing into town and then getting stranded or wanting to leave at an unusual time or through the night, I've got another bike there that's sort of always ready to go as a backup, just in case I do find myself separated from the boat bike at any given moment. So really, there's many variations that can happen from just a simple situation as locking my keys in the boat. But luckily, all's well that ends well, I say, and I suppose that now I'm going to just sit down, like I say, have an hour or so just doing some actual sort of, I don't know, I don't want to call it proper work, but actual productive video editing and things like that I hope. So I suppose without further ado, I'm going to get this bed made so that once I'm done up at the desk, I can literally just put a few more bits of coal onto the fire and then hop straight into bed. So it is that this video draws to a close with some very mundane but again speeded up images of me putting the bed back together. If anybody's wondering why I don't have it folded out as the proper double bed setup, I really basically just prefer it that way. It happened one winter when I thought, I'm just going to cozy up and have the cushioned side. Obviously we're just seeing me editing a few videos here, and I've never gone back from that setup. Obviously there's some occasions where it needs to be folded out into the double bed setup, but when I'm just on my own and cozied up in front of the fire, I absolutely love to just nestle away in that proper double cushioned corner. As I say, it started in the winter, and over those very cold nights, if you wake up in the morning and the fire's gone out, then I feel very much that I'm more in a nest and not quite so chilly and cold as I would be in those occasions. And as you can see now, this is the proper final end game of the day. And don't worry, you're not going to see any more than what you're seeing now. And I suppose at this point, the day has come to a close, so we'll cut to a nice bit of boating footage and wrap things up. I'd like to, as usual, thank everybody for tuning in and watching, and for all of the incredible support there's been for these videos over the last few years. It's certainly given me the confidence boost and motivation to keep trying to sit down and come up with these proper long documentary style videos. I hope also that you'll feel free to check out all of the other videos on my channel and subscribe if you haven't done already, as there's plenty more boating to be seen there, and of course plenty of biking and kayaking and walking and all the general scenery that you've seen in this video and much more. Feel free also to like the Facebook page or even add me personally on Facebook and Twitter. And of course, as always, please do consider checking out my books available for the Kindle. Just search for The Narrowboat Lad on Amazon, or find all of the links to everything mentioned in the description below. Until the next time, have a fantastic day, keep it boat worthy, and farewell.